Çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Honorable Prime Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests, welcome to the public lecture titled Power Shift, Strategic Choices for Malaysia and Turkiye. We are deeply honored to welcome you all here in Ankara today for this high-level discussion jointly organized by SETA and the government of Malaysia. Today's lecture brings together policymakers, academics, diplomats, and the distinguished guests, reflect on the evolving partnership between Malaysia and Turkiye, as well as the broader strategic dynamics shaping our region and the international system. This event also takes place in a very significant year for SETA, as we mark the 20th anniversary of the Foundation's establishment. Over the past 2 decades, SETA has contributed to policy-oriented research, public diplomacy, and strategic dialogue in Turkey and beyond. So we are honored to mark this significant milestone with this today's high-level discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, without further ado, it is my pleasure to officially kick off the program with the opening remarks. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the General Coordinator of SETA, Nebi Mesh, to deliver the opening remarks.
Honorable Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, distinguished guests, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to today's event, Power Shift, Strategic Choices for Malaysia and Turkiye, organized by the SETA Foundation. I would like to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to Honorable Prime Minister for accepting our invitation and for honoring us with his presence here today. Since establishment of diplomatic relations in 1964, Turkey and Malaysia relations have steadily deepened within a strategic framework. Over the past 61 years, our two countries have developed a shared strategic vision, grounded in mutual trust and brotherhood. In recent years, relations between Ankara and Kuala Lumpur have gained renewed momentum. At a time when global uncertainty and fragility are increasing, this partnership offers a hopeful and exemplary model to the international community. During his visit to Malaysia in February last year, President Erdogan emphasized both the scope and future vision of our bilateral relations, while also driving attention to the profound transformation underway in the global system. He underlined that the world is drifting toward a new struggle for power sharing, accompanied by deep political, social, and economic ruptures on global scale. Today, as international norms are eroding, international law is increasingly disregarded, and destructive competition is felt across regions. We once again see how accurate this assessment was. It is becoming ever clear that the normative structure of international relations is being reduced to mere rhetoric. Those who remain silent in the face of Israel destabilizing attacks across the Middle East, and who continue to support the Netanyahu government despite these actions, are fueling a fire that threatens all humanity at the cost of contradicting their own professed values. In an era where humanitarian, moral, and legal principles are trampled upon, the fundamental question is clear: the stand with the just and against the oppressor. On this occasion, I would like to express my deep appreciation to Honorable Prime Minister and to the people of Malaysia for their principled and resolute stand against the aggression of occupying state of Israel, particularly the genocide in Gaza, which has plunged our region into the catastrophe. The fractures in the global order, along with growing economic and political uncertainties and emerging security risk, point to one undeniable reality. New approaches, new partnerships, and above all, new perspectives are inevitable. In a rapidly transforming world, only those who adopt a strong, principled, and autonomous stance will be able not only to survive, but also to shape their own future. In this context, as fragilities within the global system deepen and traditional alliance gradually lose their effectiveness, Turkey launched the Asia and Eve initiative in 2019. This initiative reflects Turkey's determination to strengthen its engagement with Asia and to fully realize the region's vast cooperation potential. With Turkey's growing strategic autonomy and its strengthening position in the international system, relations with Asia constitute a critical dimension that will shape global dynamics in the decades ahead. Within this framework, the deepening relationship with Malaysia, one of Asia's leading powers, opens new horizons for the peoples of both countries. Bilateral trade has already exceeded $5 billion, with a shared objective of reaching $10 billion in the near future. This expanding economic partnership also reflects the growing ambition of Ankara and Kuala Lumpur to play a more influential role in the global system. The visionary framework introduced by Honorable Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim under the concept of Malaysia Madani will contribute not only to Malaysia's rising profile in the international arena, but also the broader Muslim world and global community. In line with this vision, we attach great importance to further strengthening our ties and deepening cooperation with Malaysian think tanks and academic institutions. Before concluding, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to my colleagues at SETA Foundation for their dedication and efforts in making this event possible. I would also like to express my deepest appreciation to Ambassador of Malaysia to Ankara, Mr. Sezali bin Mustafa Kemal, and his esteemed team with whom we have worked closely throughout this process. Finally, I would like once again to thank Honorable Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim for honoring us with his presence today, and for the valuable address we will have the privilege of hearing shortly. With my kind regards, thank you very much again.
Dr. Nebi Mish, the General Coordinator of SETA, thank you so much for these insightful remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is my great honor and privilege to invite to stage our keynote speaker. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim, to deliver the opening remarks, the keynote address. Okay. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Minister of Defense, Yasar, fellow ministers present, friends from the SETA Foundation, thank you very much. It's a great honor and pleasure to be back here in Turkey, and more so to SETA. And incidentally, I've had this 20-year-old relations with SETA from the time when Dr. Ibrahim Khalil was at the fore. And I've learned immensely, benefited from your research, understanding, and commitment to collaborate efforts in terms of forging international understanding and cooperation. And now I think we've gone to a new stage of relationship where SETA and ISIS will form some form of an understanding to ensure that not only the relationship between the two countries is and brotherhood between leaders. As you know, I have an excellent personal relationship with President Erdogan for decades. But as I said, our countries must forge this sort of a strategic understanding and alliance in the economic sphere, in the various strategic, defense, cultural, educational, research, because that would ultimately determine the success of our societies. So thank you again. This morning, our friends in SETA did give me some briefings. I've had too many briefings from SETA already, and I must say that I would continue to benefit because it's one of the outstanding research and international foundation that has contributed immensely to the understanding not only of the people of Turkey, but of course people in this region. And that's why I'm rather supportive and excited with the fact that you have now formalized relations with an important strategic think tank in Malaysia, ISIS. Now, our interests are, of course, complementary. We have seen now the period of uncertainties alluded to earlier. I made references to post-normal times, the complexities, the contradictions, the chaos being created, and in the political arena, the sheer hypocrisy and contradictions in terms of what has been pronounced and proclaimed, and the actions implemented on the ground, whether it's Gaza or Venezuela or what have you. So I think it is therefore important for countries, emerging economies, to realize that our future is not necessarily be tied to the dictates of the big powers, be it United States or China. And that's why I think I believe that my colleague, President Erdogan, have taken a very realistic position, as we have in Malaysia. And with China, but at the same time, understanding and accepting the fact that our region, and particularly in Southeast Asia, has this enormous potential to effectively collaborate in terms of trade, investments, and all related fields. And of course, also to open up new markets. That is why we are, like Turkey, in the regional setting, in the OIC, of course supporting the endeavors of the United Nations as an effective multilateral institution, but also to join new initiatives that could broaden our horizon and extend our penetration to new trading alignments, such as with within BRICS, for example, and any sort of a third world network arrangements. I made a particular reference to BRICS because I am, like many of you, rather excited and supportive of the need to forge new collaboration, new alliances that will benefit us, and not just lament and regret with the fact that major countries are not necessarily consistent in their policies, supporting rule-based international order or rule-based trading arrangements, but doing nothing, hoping that things will change. No, things will not change. That's why our priority is governance, domestic policies, stability, and of course, clarity in economic policies, and ensuring that our system of governance in combating corruption and making sure that there's order and justice for all is implemented as a showcase to our society, into the region and the world that we can govern. And with that understanding, forge new alliances with emerging economies, because to build up that potential. Now, I mean, this is essentially, we're talking about middle powers. And I've gone through some of these research and writings of SETA, sent to me occasionally by Dr. Ibrahim, and I hope the new team won't forget us, the old friends, where the thrust is again forging strength domestically and new alliances. And then take a very consistent, coherent moral voice, and not be discouraged by the prevalent forces of happenings and feeling virtually helpless. What the world requires now is voice of conscience, a consistent moral voice for order. It may not be that profound. Nonetheless, you have emerged in your history against all forms of oppression, the old or the new, the east or the west. Similarly, we gain independence because of our belief in certain principles of human dignity. What in Islamic terminology is karamah insaniyah. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. That Allah exalted the children of Adam because of the human dignity, because of the moral conscience, because of the sense of justice and humanity, which transcend all communities, races, or religious denominations. And I think that should be the consistent, coherent moral voice which we have to pursue with such strength. Now I recall this 13th century Turkish poet, Yunus Emre, which is more familiar to the Turks than to our region. But as you know, I, in my crazy ways, always trying to promote these ideas, great sages, and to popularize, including the great Turkish poet Yunus Emre in the 13th century. War is cut short by a word, and a word heals the wounds. And there is a word that changes poison into butter and honey. Well, he was talking about a moral life. This was a spiritual, moral, ethical voice of conscience. It's not about politics, but his insight applies more broadly. It reminds us that judgment matters as much as force. And that language, youth with discipline and restraint, can still, after the course of events. Now, Malaysia and Turkiye is aligned on many questions of consequence. It's interesting, we're world apart in terms of geographical distance, but Malaysians follow the development in Turkey. In this age where you have so much hypocrisy and lack of courage and lack of conscience, you have emerged as a voice of reason, having the courage to state facts as they are and to condemn without reservations the sheer atrocities and genocide inflicted upon the people of Gaza by the Israeli regime. And, but at the same time, having this brilliance and diplomatic skills to continue to engage, because ultimately what the world needs is not only a moral voice of conscience, but also the wisdom to navigate in this uncertain and complex world. Now, we are, of course, a relatively smaller country and went through an initial political turmoil, not so much an upheaval. I was joking with my colleagues from SETA that sometimes we tend to say, well, alhamdulillah, we're very far from this region. We don't have too many problems and issues. And you know, we had slight skirmishes between Cambodia and Thailand, which I and my colleagues, Minister of Foreign Affairs is here, spent so much time and effort to try and resolve. And alhamdulillah, to a large extent, resolved. But 5, 6 people killed, and it created such an uproar. So the concern, not only by people of both countries, but people, neighboring countries and ASEAN, everybody saying, come on, do something. You know, we have to stop this. And I said, well, alhamdulillah, it's a very positive sign that a few people killed and a few thousand misplaced or displaced, and it became such a concern. In some countries, you have thousands killed, hundreds and thousands homeless, and it doesn't prick the conscience of the people. So what went wrong? Why is it with this sophistication of the new technology and AI and such phenomenal progress you see and witness in countries, you find this sheer deficit in moral and ethical values? So I'm here to represent a country, but I'm proud to say that we are struggling very hard with this Madani framework, because yes, we need new technology. We have to grasp the new technology. We are fortunately leading in the semiconductor data centers and AI in our region. But we are mindful of the fact, like Turkey, we are really grounded in our history, culture, and identity. And we also realize that a country cannot merely succeed by culture and identity. At the same time, we are not able to succeed with just craving for relentless progress, unbridled capitalism, and new technology without that shared concern for humanity, for justice, for truth in our country, in our region. Having said that, we are not, of course, free from all problems and issues. As I've said, we are also at the center, very close in Southeast Asia and Asia, this growing tension between the United States and China. Our seas are surrounded by what is called the South China Sea. But I would say again that we are realistic enough to navigate wisely, to say that whilst United States remain our number one player in terms of investments and trade, China is becoming a very important neighbor. We must continue to engage, maintain excellent relations with our emerging neighbor economically and militarily. But we are not oblivious to the fact and events happening in this region. That's why I made reference to the events in Palestine and what's unfolding in Gaza. When President Trump was in Malaysia, I took efforts to commend him for the remarkable feat initiative to try and partly resolve, but also at the same time to impress upon him that gross injustice continued to be perpetrated against the people of Gaza, notwithstanding the agreement or the 20-point arrangement. So this is a case in point where the international system and order has failed, where political leaders have shown so much contradiction and hypocrisy, where democracy and human rights have rendered useless to many and being questioned by many in our societies. Because now we value these huge, impressive pronouncements, not by their pious platitudes and rhetoric, but by their determination, commitment, and capacity to affect these changes and implement these reforms or policies in a consistent, coherent manner. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the actions that countries like ours take will not resolve every contest. What I have attempted to deliberate certainly is not a formula, panacea for all issues or problems. But they will certainly determine the room to maneuver, whether law still constrains power. And certainty is receding. The cost of miscalculation is rising. As I said, I think you've seen a very strong message. This is not the time to stand apart. That is the work ahead. And it is the work we should, including people of Malaysia and Turkiye, should do together. Tashakur. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Prime Minister. We kindly ask you to remain on the stage as we'll proceed with the Q&A session. Yeah, please. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite to the stage our moderator, Dr. Murat Yeşiltaş, the Foreign Policy Studies Director at SETA. The floor is yours, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Prime Minister, thank you very much for your speech. It was a very fruitful speech. Thank you for this. And I would like to start with the question by taking or collecting the question from the audience with your permission. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give the floor to you to take your question. And if you have a question, please raise your hand. Okay, so please. Someone can check the microphone, please.
Selamat datang, dear President. Saya Ferhat Durmaz. Saya belajar di Politics di University Islam Antarabangsa, Malaysia. Serenok jumpa awak di sini. Saya bekerja di University Ankara. With your kind permission, I want to learn that, as you said that China is an important country for Malaysia. Also, South China Sea dispute is a big challenge for ASEAN countries and Malaysia. How can ASEAN overcome this dilemma? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Prime Minister.
Terima kasih. Mau jawab dalam bahasa Malaysia. Baik. This refers to the ASEAN position vis-à-vis the South China Sea. Now, we said we continue to engage. As far as Malaysia is concerned, there are, of course, conflicting claims, but we have not had issues, no skirmishes. There are some problems with the Philippines. But our position is, and I think the Chinese have also responded, that number one is UNCLOS. Must commit ourselves to the UNCLOS law of the sea arrangements. Number two, the code of conduct. ASEAN have agreed, China has agreed. Now we are working to have some sort of an arrangement. We have a code of conduct to make sure that there is free navigation. It's not used to be a battleground for superpowers. And we believe it is better that ASEAN and China engage amongst ourselves and not to complicate it by involving others. Others, of course, can engage, but in terms of our attempt to secure peaceful, amicable resolution to the so-called Southeast Asia, South China Sea problem, it is laid down with such clarity within the ASEAN mechanism with China. Number one, submit to 1982 UNCLOS. Number two, formulate a code of conduct. Meanwhile, ensure that there's no undesired attempt to transgress that could emerge or escalate the issues there. So as it is now, South China Sea is being talked more by outsiders. It's a concern more to Europe and the United States. It is some concern, yes, but little in South Asia, because I see Malaysia is surrounded by South China Sea. We have not had problems. Do we have issues? Yes. But do we have issues that could probably open to new conflicts? No. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, buyurun. Hande Hanım buyurun. Mikrofon oraya.
So I'm so sorry. This is Hande Fırat. I'm a journalist, Mr. Prime Minister. So this is about Trumpism, of course. Many countries in Asia and the global south are concerned about increasing unutilitarianism and unpredictability in global politics, so often described as Trumpism. Do you see this trend as a risk to global stability, and does it push countries like Malaysia to seek stronger regional and cross-regional partnership, including Turkey? Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's about Trumpism, how the Trumpism as a political understanding is risking the world politics, and how Malaysia is standing against this sort of idea.
I thought you were saying but Trumpism.
Trumpism.
Which is Trump. Well, we came up with a very strong position vis-à-vis Venezuela. We reaffirmed the position that it must be in accordance to international rules and law, and no unilateral action by any country, big or small. So it is a consistent, coherent voice. And we did urge the United States to send back Maduro and let the people of Venezuela decide. Because I think in these days of an age, if you have this sort of unilateral action, it will cause a lot of concern and instability. But notwithstanding my position, I mean, we'll continue to engage. I mean, we have, and I think for a country like Malaysia, as a democracy, and we realize that engaging with countries is important. Therefore, if you ask me, no qualms, no apologies. We state our position based on facts and law and consistent policy in the interest of our people, the Malaysians. But at the same time, we will continue to engage with the United States and treat them with, you know, respect and not only engage, but take an informed position to make sure that our voice is heard and effective. So there is a difference between our position with some, for example, who will sever all sort of relations. Of course, there are certain small extremist voice, even within Malaysia. Because of this, we have to sever relations. I mean, it sounds nice, but it is not in terms of a proper, reasonable policy, because a policy, a diplomatic engagement is a must. I mean, countries, we agree, we disagree. We have groups, for example, we welcome the initiative, Saudi initiative in terms of engaging with both sides in Yemen. Yeah. We welcome the efforts by Turkiye in many of the regional issues and conflicts. So that is a position that we take. Not necessarily we agree with one party or the other. Sometimes we have strong views, but engagement is important. So that is why, whilst expressing our displeasure and disagreement with some of the pronounced policy by President Trump, we still believe that the way forward is to continue to engage and present our case with strength and courage.
Thank you. Next question. I'll take one from left side. Yes, please.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Selamat datang. Saya pelajar ke UAE. My question is, yesterday the president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, said, we will not interfere or help external issues, not even Gaza, because they are Arab. My question is, if any war, whether short or long term, were to erupt in 2026 or beyond, would you like to act as an ally of Turkey, or would you like to stand as similar to Aliyev, Ilham Aliyev? Thank you.
Well, we are not necessarily taking a position, ally or not, maybe a consistent position. We are supportive of the struggle of the Palestinian people because of the principles. Why is it now that we tolerate colonialism? We have fought in countries throughout the world have struggled against colonial rule, whether it's British or American or French or Libyan, it does not matter. Why is it that when it comes to Israeli colonialism, we make an exception? The same. I mean, our country has been colonized. Malaysia was colonized, you see. So was Indonesia, Algeria, and so many countries. You fought. And your great heroes fought and struggled against any attempt for foreign domination. You know, Venezuela is not an Arab country, nor a Muslim country, nor an Asian country, certainly not a Malay country, but we take a position. That's what rule of law, order, and justice is all about. How is it that because if there is oppression among the Malays, I fight. If there's oppression among the Chinese, I ignore. I mean, that's certainly not, I should say what, not too civilized really, because we have to remain consistent. There may be limitations. I mean, Malaysia is a small, relatively smaller country, smaller military strength and force. So we are not able to say, we send forces. No, we can't. But we say we will join forces if it is under multilateral United Nations arrangement, number one. Number two, we still have a voice. I mean, we are a people of dignity. We believe in freedom and honor. And that means a very humanitarian sort of consideration. How is it this in age and I fail to understand them. In Germany, I remember at that time Chancellor Olaf Scholz, it was a similar remark. I said, it's consistent. I'm not against them, but I said, what is happening? Why this moral abandonment? Why this inconsistency? Why do you engage people because of their color or their religion or their creed? What's wrong with society? Why do you talk about democracy and human rights? And why do you tolerate this colonialism? I really have great difficulty. I'm sorry, I'm getting enraged a bit. Because I can't understand. Why is it? It doesn't matter. It happens that what is happening now in Gaza is because of the Israeli atrocities. Okay? It can be some other nations, some other countries, our position will be the same. Americans in Vietnam, or the French in Vietnam earlier, or the French in Algeria. Our position has been coherent. Come on. It's now 2026. We can't be condoning exploitation and colonialism. What do you call this expansion in the West Bank and taking over areas and regions of Palestine? It's colonialism. But beyond that, it is even oppression. We should feel disgust. Even at the very least, we are not able to say much or do anything. There must be a sense of disgust. Otherwise, we lose that sense of humanity. And my God, after all these years of struggle and suffering, indignity, don't lose that. I think what we have learned, what I've known, I'm a student of history, including of Turkiye. Your determination, your fortitude, your relentless pursuit for freedom and justice, because you have not lost your humanity, your dignity. So it does not matter. I'm not referring to any person, any country, but I think we have to regain our moral voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. There are a lot of questions. I'll take one from over there. Yes, please.
Welcome to Turkey, Prime Minister. My name is Mert Koray Karahasan. I recently graduated from Gazi University with a degree in political science. My question is, what concrete steps and strategic priorities can be pursued to enhance the existing cooperation potential between Turkey and Malaysia in the field of defense industry?
Well, the good news is that we are working well with many of the defense industries here. I would say that in many areas, of course, Turkey is much more advanced. So there has been some arrangements. We have procured some, but I would commend Minister Yasar is here, one positive trait, that unlike the arrangements in the past, the arrangement with Turkey is as friends. You train our people. There is a transfer of technology. is not just like the old arrangement with the ex-colonial powers, extort as much as possible. No. So this new arrangement, including defense procurement, is important. We have to buy because you have a much more superior sort of industry, but at the same time, we want a reasonable arrangement where you do train our young professionals, where you transfer some technology, where once you benefit immensely from this sort of arrangement, you also make sure that some local capacity, domestic capacity in Malaysia is being done. And this sort of arrangement is working. I must thank President Erdogan, of course, because he was spearheading this sort of arrangement, and particularly when we had this G2G arrangement in the procurement process.
Thank you. Yes. Can you bring microphone in the middle, in the left side? Come. No, go. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. I would like to understand what is going on about Rohingya and how exactly you and Malaysia are doing things to resolve this conflict. I know that you and President Erdogan have been one of the most vocal people to raise the issue of Rohingya people.
Thank you.
Well, again, this is unfortunate because it's close to us. I met the military general, Prime Minister Ong Lai, early this year with the foreign minister. That was soon after the earthquake. And I told him, on humanitarian grounds, we will support. We will set up a military hospital, field hospital in Myanmar. The two conditions. Number one, stop the bombings of regions, sub-regions, minorities, including Rohingyas. It's not only the Rohingyas, but the Karens, the Arakans, the other minorities are also be subjected to such atrocities by the military junta. Second is that all facilities, humanitarian assistance that we provide must not be discriminated, must be given to anyone who requires this assistance. But to his credit, this was agreed upon. And we set up the military field, the field hospital. We arranged some sort of support by some other neighboring countries. I mean, Thailand did, Indonesia, Singapore, many of the countries also did support. And so at least the last year, I met him again in Beijing some month back, there has been, at least the atrocities have subsided to a large extent. Has it ended? No. Why am I so concerned? Partly gross injustice and oppression. Number two, it's causing problems even in our country. The 200,000 Rohingya refugees is a burden to the country. So for now, we have some measured success, but the pressure must be, again, continue. I met also people, the leaders of the rival alternative national unity government leaders, I mean, in discussions with them. And the foreign ministry actually had coordinated some meetings with all the other minority groups in Kuala Lumpur. So we are doing our part. There's been some measure of success, but it's a long way to go. They continued with their elections last month and continuing. We have said that we will continue to engage, although ASEAN as a whole do not recognize the elections, but we will continue to engage.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much. Welcome, dear Honorable Prime Minister. It's very nice to see you. I'm Kamil Tarhan, Doctor of International Relations at Ankara Social Science University. Also, I am the alumni of IAUM. I obtained my PhD in Malaysia. It's nice to see you here. It's a pleasure for me. So my question is, Malaysia is one of the balancing countries in the Southeast Asia. At the same time, Turkey is a both NATO member and the country strong ties with the global South, specifically Western organization. So in this new era power shift, is it possible for Turkey and Malaysia to develop common strategic stance throughout the regional organization? Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's a bit too ambitious, but realistically, I would say this, that yes, we are working together very well. I mean, the relations between Turkey and Malaysia has been excellent. It's a comprehensive, strategic at the higher level, the highest level possible. In one of the few countries that we have excellent sort of relations in all fields. And we are very comfortable with arrangements with Turkey, and that would be a fair beginning. But to suggest to go beyond that, of course, Malaysia has limitations. I'm mindful of the fact that we are, relatively an emerging economy. We have to give a lot of importance and focus to domestic affairs at the same time, and the region, ASEAN, and the OIC, and of course, Turkey comes in as a very important player in this field. I think in many ways, I've always told President Tayyip Erdogan that, please take the lead, and we are with you.
Honorable Prime Minister, should I continue to collect the questions? Yeah, okay. Yes, please.
I am Dania Kablawi, TRT Arabic correspondent. Your Excellency Prime Minister, in light of your criticism of the failure of the international system on issues such as Palestine, can Turkey and Malaysia jointly lead a framework for political and moral cooperation within the Muslim world and on the international stage?
Thank you. I mean, as a country far from the events around Gaza and the region, Middle East, we have been very supportive. When Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman took the initiative to organize, we immediately gave the support. And when Turkey took the initiative, we commend him for doing that. And then President Abdul Fattah Sisi said, we are coordinating a meeting. Can you be jointly sponsoring this conference for the reconstruction of Gaza? We said, of course, yes. Even the foreign minister given the arrangement about the possibility of an international defense force, a peacekeeping force, as long as under the United Nations auspices, we are okay. So whatever is necessary or to help, we will do it. But of course, we are not going to surpass the role of these neighbors and the big players here. So I can safely say that as far as we are concerned, we are very committed. We continue. And I say it's not only issues of Gaza, even in Rohingya, I said, the problems in Myanmar or Cambodia, Thailand. Whatever capacity possible, we are here because we believe in justice, we believe in peace and human dignity. Okay. Shukran.
Yes, please. No, it's in the... Just two, okay? I'm going to collect two more questions.
Hi, Mr.
After
Prime Minister.
this one. Okay, please.
Welcome to Turkey again. A few years back, Malaysia started initiative between Turkey, Malaysia, and Pakistan to build an alliance, not just politically but militarily as well. But it was failed, as Mahathir was Prime Minister of Malaysia at that time, but he was old and not too much energy to run the initiative. And Imran was Prime Minister; he's not anymore. Do you have any plan to restart that initiative to build an alliance between Malaysia, Turkey, and Pakistan, rather than just political, but political, economic, and militarily? Thank you very much.
Well, there has been an earlier attempt like D8 and to formalize relations between countries. I'm open to any idea to help one another, bilateral, multilateral, regional, sub-regional. We are a major not player, but major supporter of this initiative. For the region, of course, we believe in ASEAN, central to this. But then for beyond that, of course, Pakistan is a great friend. As I mentioned China in many ways. And it's interesting, you know, China, because of their engagement with us, I have been a strong promoter of dialogue with the regions. I mean, in the West, when I was, say, teaching at Georgetown, we talk about Islam and Christianity dialogue. But in the region, it's more relevant to have a dialogue between Islam and Confucianism. And it's interesting, the Chinese have responded to this and say, look, they are supporting a conference next month, I think. Is it next month? April. April, see, my boss says April, I say yes. April, on Islam and Confucianism. Can you imagine? That's why I think engagement is important and not confined to countries. I mean, with Pakistan, of course, we told them, other than diplomatic, defense, economic engagement, also to promote the teachings of the works of Allama Muhammad Iqbal. And we have forged very aggressively the translation of many of his works into our language. But whether we should go and confine to this alignment with this only a few countries, that of course for the leaders to then discuss further.
Thank you. Yes, yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi dan salam sejahtera. Nama saya Guljan, saya tinggal di Malaysia 4 tahun. Saya pelajar di University Islam Antarabangsa. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much for being with us today. I graduated from Islamic University of Malaysia 20 years ago. And I would like to thank you and extend my gratitude that while we were having difficulties in our countries, you opened up your doors for us. And I think in this room, we are many of us graduated from UIA, and we're really grateful. Thank you very much for that. And with this, Malaysia is our second home. We are all in good positions now back in our country, serving our country, alhamdulillah. And we trying to strengthen the relationship with Malaysia as well. So in this regard, I would say that with defense and diplomacy being all important fields, one of the important fields I think is the education and academics, and University Islam Antarabangsa was a very strong bridge between the two countries. We really appreciate it. We know the culture. We've been familiarized with Southeast Asia and all those regions. As you said, mentioned in your speech, we are too far geographically, but the university made us very close with each other. So I would say that university should remain strong, because I have heard that number of international lecturers and students reduced over the time, but it served as greatly for us. So I would say that it should be strong again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
And I'm pleased with the confidence you have in the International Islamic University. The Minister of Higher Education is here, and we have appointed the new rector, Professor Osman Bakar, very known scholar internationally, and very determined to enhance the quality and of education in the IIU and expand the facilities to even foreign students. And I'm of course very much involved too. So thank you very much for the support. Do give your ideas and write to us in the because this is a strong IIU graduate community here in Turkey. You give some ideas and let us pursue this. And I think there's much need to be done. And we disburse some funds extra even for the university. Any failure, then you blame the minister.
Okay, it's going to be the final question. I'm so sorry for the rest of the questions.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Shukri Snan. I'm a PhD student at Yildiz Technical University Istanbul. So my question, so basically we know that Malaysia has rare earth element resources. So as we know that these elements is very crucial for the development of batteries that use in electric vehicles. So my question is to Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, what is Malaysian strategies to prevent our country being exploited by big power like US and China? Thank you.
Thank you. You know, rare earth components being used in virtually every form in technology, not only in EV and cars and refrigerator and computers. I mean, name it, you need it, some components of it. We take a policy, for example, now not to allow for export of raw rare earth, and to allow only for investments in processing. There was some confusion earlier when we had this arrangement with the United States to say we disallow others to participate. It's not true. The biggest investor for now is the Australians, and this year the Koreans have come in, the Chinese have been there, the United States are very interested. But as long as you play by the rules, the issue of processing in Malaysia, transfer technology in the country, research and training for our people, then we would allow. So it is important, therefore, for us in our disciplines, in universities even, to focus on these new disciplines. That's why universities, in terms of rare earth, AI, new technology, are given a lot of new attention, faculty, AI faculty. And then they relate to an earlier question. That's why also we have now, with the Ministry of Higher Education, a very strong collaboration with Turkiye, with universities here, with research centers here, to work together in all fields, including rare earth.
Okay, thank you.
You don't look too happy about this, why? No, we'll certainly protect. But for now, we have banned the export of raw rare earth. You see, we will only proceed if the processing plant takes place. But we are not necessarily confining to any particular country. All right?
It seems he's okay now. Okay, thank you. Honorable Prime Minister, I would like to really extend my gratitude to you again. Thank you so much. It was a really great conversation, and we learned a lot, and we deepened our understanding concerning different issues, international politics, Turkey, Malaysia, bilateral relations, and your perspective about the regional politics. Thank you again for your speech, keynote speech, and for answering all the questions. Thank you again.
I would like to thank you all, our distinguished moderator and your Honorable Prime Minister, for this delightful session. Well, kindly ask you to remain on the stage as we'll proceed with the gift presentation. On behalf of SETA, I would like to invite the General Coordinator of SETA, Dr. Nebi Mish, to present a small token of appreciation, your Honorable Prime Minister, in gratitude for joining us today and sharing your valuable insights. Thank you so much. Please kindly remain on the stage for a while. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to mark this significant occasion with the family photograph. To join us on the stage, I would like to invite the representative of SETA, your Honorable Prime Minister, the accompanying Malaysian ministers, and the Minister of the National Defense of the Republic of Turkey.
Efendim? Detayı çok tarafa mı gitsin? Olabilir. Hadi bakalım. Ay, apa ini? Kenapa ini?
like to thank you so much once again, the Honorable Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim, for being with us today, for sharing the insightful remarks and joining on these jointly organized program of SETA and the government of Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, this brings us to the conclusion of our program. On behalf of SETA, I'd like to thank you all for being with us, our distinguished guests, and for all our participants. Thank you so much for being with us, and we wish you a pleasant rest of the day.
Soracaklar.